Meeting
Okay,
is being live stream. Got it. Okay.
setting up the meeting for YouTube Live. And in just a moment, redirecting to YouTube. Okay, Baruch Hashem. Got it. I'm hearing a little bit of background music. So I'm just gonna. Okay, yeah, perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. Good evening and welcome to lesson 6. Can't believe it's already been 6 weeks. Time flies so fast. Time flies way too fast. And this is going to be our 6th or 7th course that we're doing together. Hi, Lisa. We're just getting started here. It's lesson 6. This is a bittersweet night tonight because on the one hand, we always leave the best for last. And on the other hand, that means that we're coming to a close in the session. However, we do have 2 exciting offerings coming up after. So we'll speak more to those at the end of the lesson. Let's start with Julie. Would you like to start us off with what you're grateful for today? If you'd like to unmute, and yeah.
Okay, I got it. I'm trying to turn down this music too. I'm grateful to be alive today.
Beautiful.
I'm grateful to have a wonderful family.
Nice. Very nice. And Moshe Chaim, what are you grateful for today?
I too am grateful for life today.
Grateful for life. Good. A lot of gratitude for living. And Sarah Esther, what are you grateful for today?
I can't discount the life.
How did Isaac do in his brachas be?
Oh gosh, he was so nervous, but he was cheerful and happy and got mixed up on, well, pardon the pun, got mixed up on omelets because he's never had one and he didn't know what it was. So I think he said shehakol. He said something else, and he did great. He was happy. He was a great sport. And I can't expect more than that. I can't ask for more than that. He's amazing. Just great.
Wonderful. Actually, now that we're talking about Isaac, this Sunday there's a carnival at have you heard of Mizrahi Torah Academy? It's on Sunrise right by the turnpike.
Mizrahi, I think I have.
Of JCC. So they're having a carnival, like a pre-Purim carnival from 12 to 3 p.m. If I remember, I'll send you the flyer.
Yeah. I'll
or you can ask me after the
I'll
after the class. I'll
that
send it
sounds
over.
great.
That'll be fun for the kids. They're gonna have like a petting zoo and stuff. So sounds fun.
Okay.
I would love it.
Right?
Get up here.
Okay, so let's jump right in. This is we got a lot to cover today, but we have to start with a joke, and this is one for the ages. So who knows what a shadchan is?
Shadchan.
A shadchan. So the word shadchan, actually, some people say it's an acronym for sheker dover kesef notel, which means he speaks lies and takes money. In English, known as a matchmaker.
God.
So a matchmaker comes to the town's malamed. The malamed is the teacher of little children. Yeah, simple guy. He comes to the malamed and he says, you know what? I think I have a match for your daughter. And he says, a match for my daughter? How can you have a match for my daughter? I can barely afford to pay food for my clothes. You're talking to me about a match for my daughter? I can't pay for a wedding. I can't pay for dowry. Sorry, not his daughter, his son. His son who was in yeshiva, was a very smart boy, but the guy didn't have any money to support them. He said, what are you hacking me a chinik, right? Why are you making me crazy? And the man says, well, what if I would tell you that this girl is the daughter of Baron Rothschild? He says, okay, we're talking, but why would they be interested in me? He says, give me a minute. He jumps onto a plane, flies to Paris. Okay, whatever. He travels however he did, by boat or train or whatever it was. He travels to Paris and he goes to Rothschild and he knocks on the door and he says, do I have a shidduch for you, for your daughter? And Rothschild says, okay, sounds interesting. Who is he? He's the son of the local Melamed in our little shtetl. It's like, okay, and why would I be interested in him? This is me, this is my daughter. And the man says, well, what if I would tell you that he is the incumbent vice president of the World Bank? And Rothschild said, well, you know what? Okay, I can do that. So this guy jumps on a ship or a train and rushes off to Switzerland. He meets with the owner of the World Bank in Switzerland. And he says, I heard you guys are looking for a new VP. I have the guy for you. And the man says, okay, well, who is he? Says, he's the son of the Melamed in our shtetl. And the owner, the president of the World Bank says, why would I be interested in the son of your shtettl's Melamed to be the vice president of the World Bank? And he says, well, you see, he's engaged to Baron Rothschild's daughter.
God.
Very nice. Very nice.
Right? So everything is not always as it seems. Everything is not always as it seems. Anyway, over the last 5 weeks, we've covered an absurd amount of ground. You guys have learned a lot. You've been incredible students, and I hope I've been a decent teacher. And we've learned a lot about a lot of subjects. We've learned about the written Torah. We've learned about the oral Torah. We've learned about the second lesson was about the Medrash. We've learned about the Talmud. We've learned about Jewish law. And finally, last week, we learned about Musar and Chakira, ethics and philosophy. And tonight, we're left with two last genres that we are going to be covering. And then you will know all of the Torah. Well, no, you will not know all of the Torah, but you will know enough of the Torah to make the decision about what's the next thing you want to learn. So tonight we're going to be learning Kabbalah and Chassidus. We've probably heard of the term Kabbalah, maybe not the term Chassidus, though if you've heard of Chabad, you may have heard of Chabad Chassidus. And the question is, what are they? And what do they mean? These are the mystical side of the Torah. So not the practical, not the what does the Torah mean with the mitzvahs, but the mystical side of things. I will put in a plug over here that our course this coming fall, I guess that's the first course next year, after the high holidays, shortly before Hanukkah, I want to say. It's going to be a course dedicated to Kabbalah and Chassidus. So here tonight we're going to talk more about the history and the definition, and it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful course. I don't yet know the subject material, but I can tell you that if they're going to do anything of a job as they've done until now, I think we must have done almost two full. Yeah, we must have done seven courses so far. They're just phenomenal, and it's going to be a great read. So, because of the esoteric nature of these subjects, there is a lot of mystery and a lot of misunderstanding surrounding these fields of Torah, and I might posit that there has been no more misinformation, misunderstood, and perhaps malignant ideas surrounding these subjects more than any other subject of the Torah because of their mystery, and they are often misunderstood. So there are a lot of people who feel that it's just not for them, right? I don't need and I don't want to go into the mystical side of things. I'm going to look at the Torah, I'm going to look at the Halacha, I'll look at the Talmud, and let's leave it there. A lot of people wonder, well, if Kabbalah is Jewish, what's with Madonna? What's going on, and how kosher is this mystical side of things altogether, right? We had a hard enough time convincing ourselves last week that philosophy and ethics were part of Torah, So to go all mystical and esoteric might be a little bit too far of a jump. So today we're going to clear, hopefully, we're going to clear all of this up. And we're going to take a definitive look about what Kabbalah and Hasidus is and what they're not. And we're going to explore the roots of some of the misunderstandings and misconceptions. And we'll find out why there is so much mystery, so much confusion about the topics, about these studies. So we're going to trace the history and the evolution of Kabbalah and Hasidus, and we're going to learn about the major works in the process. It's a nice lesson video again this week. And then if we get through all of that fast enough, we will have a time, ample time, to have a dive deep into the original texts of Kabbalah and Hasidus, and we're going to experience firsthand a little bit about the way these wisdoms operate. So tonight, as usual, is going to unfold in 3 acts, though tonight is actually going to be a 4th one. So we're going to start with Crypto Kabbalah. This is not a new coin. Crypto Kabbalah. Act number 2 is going to be mystical evolution. And act number 3 is going to be making sense of the mystical. This may be a class that you will remember for the rest of your life. And then at the end, we have a Kahoot that I put together that is going to be a little bit of fun for us.
Isaac reminded me of that last night. He said, Rabbi Shmuley wants to do Kahoot with us. I said, what are you talking about? You know, I had totally forgot. He remembered.
Okay, great. So when it's time, he'll come, I guess, with his phone and help you out.
He'll set me up.
Set you up. Okay. Okay. So act number 1, Crypto Kabbalah. Let me ask you, does anybody here tonight, I think some of you may know, what is the translation of the word Kabbalah? What does Kabbalah mean?
It seems a little simple. Into I do.
Sorry, Julie, about the background noise. I'm just going to mute you for
It's my husband.
and then you're more than welcome to unmute yourself and jump back in. Anybody know what is the translation or the meaning of the word Kabbalah?
Receiving.
Kabbalah means receiving. Okay, very good. That is correct. Kabbalah means receiving. Something that is received. Okay, so what do you think that means?
Why what, Rabbi?
They said that gives us a little bit of a definition, but it doesn't really help us understand completely what Kabbalah is, because isn't all of the written Torah, isn't all of the oral Torah received? Isn't all of Torah received? Okay, thank you, Antonina. Isn't all of the Torah received?
Yes.
So why are we calling Kabbalah received? So I'm going to give you another name of Kabbalah. Another name for Kabbalah is Sod. Sod means a secret.
Secret.
So if we put the two together, what we have is transmitted secrets. Now, I hope I'm not going too deep with this. What I am going to say is that in certain areas, Hakira and Kabbalah overlap. So Hakira meaning philosophy and Kabbalah are both going to address the origins of the world. But there are some places where Kabbalah could go that Hakira cannot. Because Kabbalah means received. It's whatever your teachers told you. So if there's something that is not provable, but was taught to you by your teacher, and you received it from your teacher, then we can discuss that. Whereas in philosophy, we can only discuss that which makes sense, that which is comprehensible, and that which is provable and logical. So Kabbalah is a little different. Kabbalah means received. Kabbalah means secrets. Secrets that were received. So we're going to have to explain a little bit more of that. And number one is we're going to look at what does this secret mean. So number one means that the wisdom of Kabbalah was taught secretively to a select few. It was the kind of thing like meet me in the forest by the third row of trees, the second from the left, knock twice, and the code word is the light was dawn, right? And then when you would say that, a trapdoor would open up and you'd find yourself sitting in a room. So not exactly like that, but it was very, very secretive, very, very small groups of people.
Sounds like the mob.
Right? And number two is that the wisdom itself is secretive. It's like its own language. And we're going to see soon when we look at a text, it really makes no sense. A lot of Kabbalah makes no sense. And the reason for that, we're going to see soon. However, Kabbalistic wisdom is a secret that was taught in very, very small groups. And we're going to see also when that started. There are those who suggest that Adam was the first Kabbalist. Adam, like from Adam and Eve. He wrote a book called Sefer Yetzirah, which is a deep Kabbalistic work about creation.
Adam
Adam, yes.
wrote a work.
He wrote a work, and it's actually his work that, if you've ever heard of the Golem of Prague. No, we'll get into the Golem. But you know what? Let's pause here because we're on it anyways, and we'll skip it later. So there's two kinds of Kabbalah. There's intellectual Kabbalah, and there is practical Kabbalah. Intellectual Kabbalah is the Kabbalah of understanding about God and about the Torah, the soul of the Torah and the soul of the world. Practical Kabbalah is using Kabbalah and names of God to create things and to change things. So this book written by Adam, the first man, is a book called Sefer Yetzirah, which means a book of creation. There was very notably the Golem of Prague, about whom many legends and myths have been created and told. And there were also other teachers, sages from the times of the Gemara, who created servants to help them, basically like humanoid subjects that were not as smart as AI, but capable as slaves and could follow instructions. So the Golem of Prague was created. He is buried actually in the Altnai Shul, in the attic of the Altnai Shul in Prague. And
Wow.
He's buried underneath all the shemus there, all the worn manuscripts and siddurs and prayer books and things like that. And the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, when he was younger, he once went to, he was visiting in Prague, and he decided, let me go up and see what's there. And when he came back, his father was extremely upset with him and said, you have no idea how hard I had to pray for your safety while you were there. There's a story of an SS officer who wanted to clear for once and for all the myth and to find out if there is indeed a golem or not. And he climbed up into the attic, and he stuck his sword into the pile of shemus, of tattered books, under which the golem is buried, and he died instantly. So I guess he didn't get to see him, but he may have interacted with the Golem of Prague. So that is the practical Kabbalah. I do not know of anyone today who practices the practical Kabbalah. I think that is a, I may be wrong, because like we said, it's secret. But I don't believe there's anyone in the past few hundred years that has practiced these works. But it is out there, and it's like the Jewish version of magic. And then there's what we're going to be focusing on, which is the theory of Kabbalah, and that's really what we're going to be focusing on today. So Kabbalah is a secret within a secret. It's cryptic words taught only to select few, and the question is why. So the way it's been for thousands of years was like that, and we're going to learn right now the reason. Today we're going to do a little bit of mashup. We're going to do a little bit of a, you can call me DJ Shmuley. We're going to go back and forth around the texts. Text number 1. This is from Maimonides. Now, if I wish Ephraim would be here right now. I don't know if he's going to be able to make it tonight. But Maimonides is a very big into Maimonides. Maimonides, they say, and I have yet to confirm this. I have to look at it inside. But they say that Maimonides was originally very against the study of Kabbalah. And towards his later years, he became closer to Kabbalah. And actually, they say he wrote some works on Kabbalah. But Maimonides, in his Guide for the Perplexed, writes about Kabbalah. And text number 1. Moshe Chaim, would you like to read text number 1 for us?
Hidden kernels.
Yes.
Mhm.
Page 235.
As you are well aware, even the Talmud, which was received by tradition, was not originally committed to writing in a book that was disseminated to the people. Now, if care was taken to avoid writing the oral Torah in a book accessible to all because of the disadvantages in such a system, certainly then no portion of the esoteric teachings of Torah could be written, which would divulge these teachings to everyone. Rather, these teachings were orally communicated by a few uniquely qualified individuals to other uniquely qualified individuals. As I earlier explained, the saying, Talmud Chagiga, the secrets of the Torah can only be entrusted to skilled sages. Nothing but a few remarks and allusions to these teachings are to be found in the Talmud and the Midrashim. They are like small kernels enveloped in many husks, so that the reader is generally occupied with the husk without thinking that it encloses a kernel.
Beautiful. So it is written specifically as such in codes and allegories that when you read it, you're like, what in the world even is this? And in truth, once we dig deeper, we figure it out. So the first big idea was, what is Kabbalah? Now, the second big idea that we're going to get here tonight is, why the secrecy? Right? So now you understand why we called act number 1 crypto Kabbalah, because it is all very cryptic. And the question is, why? Why do we need so much secrecy? Why couldn't these ideas be spread to the masses? So, second big idea is that the teachings of Kabbalah are so powerful that if they are misunderstood, they can lead to disaster. They're so deep and so powerful that if the wrong person learns them in the wrong context or without the right preparation, they can, let's look. The Talmud tells us about one such tragic incident. This is going to be text number 2, page 236. Sarah Esther, would you like to read text number 2 for us, please?
Sure. 4 who entered the orchard. 4 sages entered the orchard: Ben Azai, Ben Zoma, Acher, and Rabbi Akiva. Ben Azai looked and died. Ben Zoma looked and went mad. Acher cut down the plantings, i.e., became a heretic. Rabbi Akiva entered in wholeness and peace and emerged in wholeness and peace.
Okay. So you see there was this orchard, and I don't know, what do you think were there in the orchard?
Kabbalah.
Sorry?
Kabbalah.
Correct. The orchard over here is a reference, a euphemism for Kabbalah. It is a reference to Kabbalah. 1 second. Sorry. What's this, the chat here? Okay. So the orchard is a reference to Kabbalah, as well as the Hebrew word for pardes stands for pshat, remez, drush, and sod, which are the 4 levels of interpretation. So you have the simple meaning, you have the midrashic explanations, you have the things that are hinted to and alluded to, and then you have the secrets that are hidden within. So the orchard refers to Kabbalah. And there were 4 people who had this intense revelation. One of them died. And the way we understand this is that it's like, so I'm from Australia, and our outlets are 220 volts. So you come from America, and I had a guest who did this. He went to the store, and there's 2 different kinds of things you can get in your electric store. One of them is a power inverter, which actually changes the current to 110 volts. And the other one is just like a little cheap, 50 cents or $1 that just changes the prongs. So he took the cheap one, because why would I want to spend $15 if I could spend 50 cents? And he came and he plugged in his must have been like a CD player or something. And he plugged it in. And what do you think happened? A little pop, a little smoke, and gone was the CD player. If you plug in a small receptacle into a large giving, a large whatever the word is, then bad things happen. So what happened is with Ben Azai is that he experienced a revelation that was too much for him to handle, and his soul expired from his body and couldn't come back. Ben Zoma literally lost his mind. It was too much for him, and he actually went crazy. Acher became a heretic. He wasn't able to reconcile what he had seen with his prior learning. He was actually, Acher means the other one. His real name is Elisha ben Avuya, and he was one of the foremost teachers of the Mishnaic era. He was one of the teachers of Rabbi Meir, who is quoted in almost every chapter of Mishnah. So he was a great man, and he lost it. Only Rabbi Akiva, one of the 4, was able to go in peace and come out in peace. And the reason is, so it doesn't say that he went in and then he emerged whole and in peace. It says he entered in wholeness and peace and emerged in wholeness and peace, which we understand to mean that the reason why he was able to come out with a good mindset is because he went in with the proper mindset. And we can learn a whole lot of that. So Kabbalah can be dangerous. Understanding concepts and experiencing godliness in a raw and unfiltered fashion can be too much to handle. There are also, the Zohar also speaks about 13 people, I believe it was, who went into the Idra. Idra is like a hall. Also, same thing, similar outcomes. So we have to be really, really careful what we do with our Kabbalah. So that's why for many thousands of years, these teachings were intentionally taught to a very, very select, small group of highly, what's the word I'm looking for? Highly qualified students. And it was encoded in super cryptic language so as to not cause any harm if they fall into the wrong hands. So now comes the big question. What's the big question? Come on.
Why was it so powerful that only a select few can bear its teachings?
Okay, good. Why is it so powerful? We'll address that in a moment. I'm looking for something else.
How do you approach it without these tragic consequences? How do you get ready?
I told you that I'm going to be teaching you Kabbalah and Hasidus, didn't I? I didn't come here to kill you guys tonight. You know the story of there's a guy and he was accused of murder. So the he came in and the prosecutor said, you know, this guy killed this guy and there are witnesses. And he says, what did he do? There was no gun, no anything. He says, I told him a joke and he died. So they said, okay, what was the joke? He says, I can't tell you or else you'll die. Anyways, the judge says, and the defendant is there, the lawyer who's defending, and the judge says, okay, so we'll send everyone out of the room besides for myself and the lawyer, and you're going to have to repeat that joke, otherwise we can't continue. Anyways, so he says the joke and the lawyer drops dead on the spot. 3 months later, the judge died.
That joke really killed.
Anyways, what did they say? The guy comes, sits down on an airplane, and he says to the guy next to him, he says, you know, I have a really funny cop joke to tell. He says, before you say it, I want you to know that I'm a policeman. He says, okay, I'll say it real slowly. Okay. Anyway, so that's not what we're here for tonight. What we're here for tonight is to learn Chassidus and to learn Kabbalah. So first we have to understand that it can be very dangerous. Then it's going to take us a few stages to figure out why we are allowed to learn Kabbalah today and how we're able to learn Kabbalah today. So number one is the need. So there came a time where, despite the great dangers of teaching Kabbalah to the masses, it became a necessity. And the reason is like this. If you've ever seen a kid today, the kids today are very different than the kids I shouldn't say we, than the kids that you were and that you grew up with, even in the last 50 years, and definitely over the past few hundred. You can't anymore tell a child to do something just because you said so. It doesn't work. Right, Lisa?
It not with this kid. There are too many
Right?
questions.
Right. Now, it could be that 30 years ago you told a kid, you know, this is the answer. Right? And now what happened in Hebrew school? You asked your teacher and they said, you sure you want to ask that question? I'll get my ruler out and you'll ask it again.
Mhm.
And for many years, people were able to do things enthusiastically and to enjoy their Torah learning and their mitzvah observance, only knowing that this is what God wants me to do. This is what I'm supposed to do. And they did it with joy, and they loved it. They really loved it. But there came a time where that slowly waned and the enthusiasm slowly, it's like, remember that example we spoke about? We may have mentioned it even twice, of all the people dancing and the deaf man trying to figure out who all these hooligans are dancing in the street. And then someone explained to him that there's a band playing music. So if you hear the music, you just start dancing. That's what happens. Right? Purim's coming up. But if you don't have that music playing, someone's got to turn up the volume. So while it was very easy to remain Jewish and observant and do what God wants many years ago, today it's not like that. Today we need to understand. We need soul. We need meaning, and that's you see that all over the place. In meditation from Sinai, we discussed this at great length. That people are looking for understanding. People are looking for meaning. People are looking for depth. People are looking for soul. And to say you got to keep kosher just because that's what Hashem wants of you, yeah, that's very nice. But if you want me to be excited about it, you better teach me a little more. So it became no longer optional to teach and study these deep secrets of the Torah. It became a necessity. And that's exactly what Kabbalah does. Kabbalah goes to the soul of everything, and the secrets behind why we do what we do, and explanations and deeper meanings, deeper understanding of who God is and what God is, a deeper understanding behind the mitzvahs and behind the Torah. And it brings an added, just such a sweet dimension. It's like adding spices to your food. It's completely, it's all the same food, but it's just so flavorful now. Take any of the holidays, right? Before Kabbalah and Hasidus gave us these beautiful explanations, it was a little more dry and not as practical and down to earth. So stage number one is we need Kabbalah. We can no longer survive without Kabbalah. As a nation, we need this now for everyone. But the question still remains, how do we make sure that people are not going to die and freak out, lose their mind, or go heretical? How do we make sure that everyone can be okay? So, to mitigate this concern, the great mystics reformatted Kabbalah to be made safe and digestible by the masses. They took the deeper secrets of Kabbalah and stripped away a lot of the, let's just put it this way, they presented in a way that could speak directly and clearly to people like you and I. And these teachings ultimately became known by a new name. So they're based on Kabbalah, but the intention of them is to be practical, pragmatic, to speak to you, to speak to me, explaining the deepest secrets of Kabbalah, and also explaining the inner workings of the human condition and our day-to-day struggles. So it's not limited to Kabbalah, but it's revealing the, like we said before, the soul of the Torah, the soul of the Tanakh, the soul of the Medrash, the soul of the Talmud, the soul of the Halacha, and the soul of the Musar and Chakira, the ethics and philosophy. So these teachings essentially serve two purposes. Number one, bringing Kabbalah to the masses, that everyone can understand and have this deep and intimate connection with the Torah. And number two is that they expose the soul of the Torah, the essence of everything, and making it relevant to each and every one of us. And the name of these new teachings is, you guessed it, Hasidus. That's what we're here for tonight. So while Hasidus is all based on Kabbalah, Hasidus is not Kabbalah. Hasidus is even greater, if I may, than Kabbalah, in that we're taking a deep dive and a deep look into the essence of everything, the soul of everything. And it really ties everything together. And we'll talk about how the Lubavitcher Rebbe's method of this in just a little bit. Do we have any questions thus far?
It's silly, but I've heard chagiga at school a lot. What is chagiga?
Great question. So a chagiga could be a few things. There is a tractate called Chagiga, which refers to one of the sacrifices that was brought. The word Chagiga means festival or celebration.
That's what okay.
So, like the word Chag.
Chag Sameach.
So, right, Chag Sameach. Right, exactly. So there was a special offering that would be brought in the temple times that was called the Karban Chagiga, the celebrating offering. Just because you came to Jerusalem, you would come and you would bring a Karban Chagiga. But it could be referring to, so that's the tractate in the Mishnah and Gemara, the tractate in the Talmud. However, Chagiga could be any kind of celebration. It could be that there's a certain specific kind of Chagiga, a kind of celebration that's coined Chagiga in different circles.
Okay.
But that's the...
All right. Thanks. That mystery solved.
Perfect. So that's what Hasidus is. So act number 2 is going to be mystical evolution. We've looked at Kabbalah, what it is, why it's so secretive. We looked at why at a certain point in time it became necessary to make Kabbalah accessible and available to the masses. And this is done safely through the work of Hasidus. So what we're going to do now is travel back in time to chart the history and development of Kabbalah and Hasidus, and learn some of the greatest mystics and some of the authors. And I think on page 238. you can find a timeline to follow along with. Starting on 238, this is long. This is nice. And you can read it all after as well. So if I can, I will now share with you the video in just a moment. Is this going to open? I want to use Windows Media Player. Always use this app. Okay, let's try this. Back here, share screen, optimize your video clip. Okay, do you see the screen?
Yeah.
The Jewish mystical tradition, the Kabbalah, formed an integral part of the Torah's transmission from its very beginnings. The earliest Kabbalistic works are attributed to Abraham, the first Jew, or even earlier to Adam, the first man. The Talmud and the Midrashim incorporate many Kabbalistic passages. These teachings, however, were the exclusive province of a small number of sages who engaged in the study of this esoteric wisdom, and even fewer who dared to disseminate it. The prophet Ezekiel's vision of the divine chariot, Merkava, recorded in the book of Ezekiel, is the biblical source for many Kabbalistic principles and ideas. A number of early Kabbalistic texts were composed in Mishnaic times, in the 1st and 2nd century of the Common Era. These texts, however, are extremely terse and mysterious, their meaning decipherable only to those who were privy to the oral tradition that accompanied them. The great Mishnaic sage Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai taught the wisdom of Kabbalah to a close circle of disciples. These discourses and discussions were recorded in the Zohar, which remains the most basic text of Kabbalah. The Zohar, however, would remain a secret text for more than 1,000 years, although snippets of it found their way into some of the Torah works composed in the interim. The first fissures in the veil of secrecy surrounding Kabbalah began to appear in the 12th century in Spain, France, Italy, and Germany, where small groups of Kabbalists and their disciples were expounding and transcribing their teachings. It was during this period that the Zohar was first published, making its hitherto hidden teachings available to those who were admitted into the secretive Kabbalistic circles. The Hasidim of Ashkenaz was a school of Jewish mystics who were active in the German Rhineland in the 12th and 13th centuries. Its leaders, Rabbi Yehuda HaChassid and Rabbi Elazar Rokeach of Worms. One of the preeminent sages of Spanish Jewry, Nachmanides, authored important works in all areas of Torah, biblical commentary, Talmudic analysis, Torah law, philosophy, and ethics. Nachmanides was also a master Kabbalist who incorporated many Kabbalistic ideas into his commentary on the Torah. Rabbi Abraham Abulafia and his disciples, active in 13th century Italy, emphasized the practice of meditative Kabbalah and the attainment of mystical union with God. Other noted Kabbalists of the medieval period include the anonymous author of the foundational Kabbalistic work Ma'arechet HaElokut and Rabbi Yosef Gikatila, Rabbi Menachem Merkanti, Rabbi Meir ibn Gabbai, and Rabbi Yehuda Chayat. Despite the surge in dissemination by the medieval Kabbalists, Kabbalah was still a secret discipline, studied and taught by an exclusive circle of mystics. The next breakthrough came in the mid-16th century, when Tzfat, a city in the north of the Holy Land, became a center of Jewish mystical learning. One of the early teachers of Kabbalah in Tzfat was Rabbi Shlomo Alkabetz, who is known as the author of the mystical poem Lecha Dodi, Come My Beloved to Meet the Bride, sung in Jewish communities on Friday evening to welcome the Shabbat. Rabbi Yosef Karo, known primarily as the author of the Shulchan Aruch Code of Jewish Law, was also an accomplished Kabbalist, who recorded his mystical visions in his Magid Mesharim. At the hub of the Tzfat mystics were two great teachers of Kabbalah, Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, known as Ramak, and Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, known by the acronym Ari, the Lion. Ramak's encyclopedic Pardes Ramonim, Orchard of Pomegranates, was a first of its kind, systematic explanation of the multitude of worlds, virot, and concepts that populate Kabbalistic teaching. Ari, although his sojourn in Tzfat was cut short after only 2 years when he died in a plague at the age of 38, left behind numerous disciples and a vast body of teachings. Indeed, almost all subsequent Jewish mystical learning is predicated on the Ari's teaching. Ari revolutionized the realm of Jewish mystical learning by proclaiming that the restrictions on disseminating Kabbalistic teachings applied only in earlier generations, and that in these times it is permitted and obligatory to reveal this wisdom. As a result, a number of Ari's disciples labored to record and publicize his teachings and to seed centers of Kabbalistic learning throughout the Jewish world. One of these disciples, Rabbi Israel Sarug, traveled for 20 years throughout Italy, the Balkans, Germany, Poland, Turkey, Egypt, and elsewhere to introduce the Lurianic Kabbalah. From Tzfat, the teachings of Kabbalah spread across the Jewish world. In the following generations, additional masters and schools of Kabbalistic learning developed in various Jewish communities. Maharal was a mystic and philosopher who expressed Kabbalistic ideas in philosophical terms. His teachings influenced many subsequent schools of Jewish thought. Maharal's Kabbalah appears to derive from earlier sources, as the Tzfatian Kabbalah had not yet reached Eastern Europe in his day. There is a tradition that Maharal used Kabbalistic formulae to create a golem, a humanoid, to save the Jewish community of Prague from the frequent blood libels of the time. Another influential figure in Jewish philosophy and mysticism was Rabbi Yeshayahu Horowitz, who served as a rabbi in numerous Jewish communities in both Europe and the Holy Land, including Dubna, Frankfurt, Prague, Jerusalem, Tzfat, and Tiberias. He's known as Shalah, after his magnum opus, Shnei Luchot Habrit, 2 Tablets of the Covenant, which blends Kabbalah, Talmudic discourse, Torah law and customs, biblical commentary, and ethics. Shalah's works incorporate the teachings of Ramak and Ari and their disciples. Other 16th and 17th century Kabbalists include Rabbi Yisrael Najar of Gaza, Rabbi Menachem Azaria di Fano of Italy, and Rabbi Naftali Hertz Bachrach of Germany. Prominent 18th century Kabbalists include Ramchal, a prodigious author of Kabbalah, philosophy, ethics, and poetry, and Rabbi Chaim ibn Attar. The Gra school of Kabbalah encompasses the Kabbalistic teachings of Rabbi Eliyahu, the Gaon of Vilna, and his disciples. In Jerusalem, the Bet El School of Kabbalah was a center of mystical learning for 250 years. Its leaders included Rabbi Shalom Sharabi of Yemen and Rabbi Chaim Yosef David Azulai, the Chidah. Notwithstanding all of this activity and publications, Kabbalah remained a closed book for the great majority of Jews. The teachings remained esoteric, requiring a subtle mind and extensive knowledge and training to properly understand. As a rule, the restrictions placed on the study of Kabbalah were still widely enforced. For example, a person had to be past the age of 40 and had to be thoroughly versed in the revealed portions of the Torah, such as Talmud and Halacha, before they would be permitted to approach its hidden element. The final breakthrough, which paved the way for the realization of the Ari's declaration that the time had come for the inner soul of Torah to be revealed, came with the founding of the Hasidic movement by Rabbi Yisrael Baal Shem Tov in 1734. In addition to revealing an entirely new dimension of Torah, Hasidism also popularized and made accessible the teachings of Kabbalah by explaining its ideas in ways that made them comprehensible and applicable to all.
Okay, so yeah, that was a lot. That was a lot. But you can look at that. If you want to watch that again, you can go on chabadcentralbroward.com/booksmart or myjli.com/booksmart. Take you to the same place. Well, not really the same place, because Chabad Central Broward also has the course recordings. But you'll have that video there, as well as some other videos on the 10 Sfirot and such like.
Rabbi,
So, yes.
what was the, just a curious question. Early on, she mentioned rabbi, I believe it was a rabbi of worms. What does that mean? Does it mean what I like? Is he a doctor of?
That's a great question. Worms was a city in I want to say Germany.
Of worms. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
In Hebrew, that would have been Vermaiza. So that was the city that he was in.
All right. Thank you.
So, okay, we've done a lot of talking about Jewish mysticism. We have a little over a half hour. And we want to try and cram in the game as well. So let's jump in. Are you guys ready to learn some Kabbalah, to learn some Hasidus?
Sure.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Okay, let's take it away. We're going to start with a very cryptic Kabbalistic text, and we're going to ask some questions. Then we're going to switch gears and present, excuse me, a seemingly a paradox and a contradiction within God. Then we're going to demonstrate how the we're going to look at the the Tzafat rabbis, how they explained the same idea. And then we're going to look at it, how Hasidus explains it. And then we'll go all the way back and see if we can understand it. You guys ready?
Mhm.
Okay. We're going to skip all the way. We're going to go a little bit ahead now. Text number 5, which is going to be on page number 248. Julie, do you have your book with you? Would you like to read text number 5 for us?
I do not have my book.
Okay.
It's in my house.
Okay. So, Moshe Chaim, would you read for us text number 5, please?
Engravings in the supernal purity. At the beginning of the manifestation of the king's will, the lamp of darkness engraved engravings in the supernal purity. It emanated from the most concealed of all concealed things, from the secret of endlessness. A formless vapor was inserted into a circle that was neither white, nor black, nor red, nor green, nor any color at all. When he began its measurements, he created bright colors to shine forth. From within the center of the lamp, a fountain spouted, from which the colors down below were painted.
How's that for a trip? Let me ask you on a scale of 0 to 10, how clear is that?
2.5.
Okay, yeah, you're pretty good. Did you
Yeah.
understand any of that? I mean, what does it mean? How do you have a lamp of darkness?
It depends if these are
So
What's
obviously
the-
these are all metaphors, but as it's
metaphors.
written,
Thank
this
you.
is a Kabbalistic text, which looks ridiculous. I mean, if I would see this, I would say, okay, this is all, this is not Judaism, right? Definitely not Judaism. Definitely not the soul of the Torah. I don't know what you're talking about. And the reason for that is because we're looking at the husks. We're looking at the shell. We're looking at the outside. And what we're going to do today is hopefully give you a little bit of tools that we can start peeling away these shells. Again, remember, the number one thing we have to do is remove the content from the words and see if we can conceptualize the ideas without looking at the words that they're trapped in. Because again, any idea that's given over is going to have to be given over in words of human concepts. But we're going to have to figure out what the concept really is. We're going to have to figure out, in other words, they couldn't use, if you're going to talk about God, you can't use words. So you're going to have to use words because we're talking to people. So we're going to have to figure out, what does this mean, right? This looks a lot more godly than humanly, and I don't know what that means. It looks like a scene from some kind of sci-fi movie or something like that. Okay, so I'm glad that none of us understood this, because that makes me feel a lot better. So we have the fortune of thousands of years, and we also have the fortune of Hasidus that's going to help us here. But the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to have to clear up some divine truths and look at some human truths so that we can get a better understanding here. Okay, so we're going to start with this paradox. Text number 6. Would you, Sarah Esther, would you read for us, please, text number 6 and 7? Please.
Okay. Hashem fills the world like the soul fills the body.
Okay, so actually, you know what? Let's you know what? Okay, fine. Let's do it this way. Okay, so Hashem fills the world like the soul fills the body. Let me ask you, your soul is in your body. Is it very connected to your body? How
No.
does the soul, your soul, right? So your soul sees through your eyes, your soul thinks through your brain, your soul hears through your ears, your soul feels through your heart. Your soul is extremely, extremely integrated with your body. Is that right?
Hmm.
So what does that mean? That means that if God is filling the world the way the soul fills the body, that means that God is very much affected by the world. And that God is very much integrated with the world. Right?
Right.
Okay, now let's go on to text number. Okay, yeah, continue, please. Text number 7.
Okay. Guard your souls exceedingly, as you have not seen any form on the day that Hashem spoke to you at Horeb from within the fire, lest you be corrupted and make for yourselves a graven image, the form of any symbol, and be led astray to bow to it and worship it.
So what is Moses saying? When God came to us on Mount Sinai, Horeb is another word for Mount Sinai. So when God came on Mount Sinai, there was no form. There was no image. So don't go ahead and make an image because there was none. And let's continue on with text number 8. The third principle, this is the principles of faith, right? Is the negation of any physical qualities in regard to God, meaning we believe that the one God is neither a physical entity nor a physical force, nor is he subject to any physical state. If we look at text number 9 from Isaiah, it says, the Holy One, to what can you liken me that I would be compared? Okay, now let's continue. So on the one hand, what we've seen so far is, forget about text number 6, put it on the side for a moment. But in text 7, 8, and 9, we've seen that God very much has no form, has no connection to any world, is just pure God. And that's what he is, completely transcendent.
Is the example of a bush that is burning and not being consumed by it, is that seen in different areas of the Torah?
That's an interesting point. Maybe we can tie that in at the end, the dichotomy of the two. That's very interesting. But let's look here. Text number 10, right? A compassionate and gracious God, slow to anger, abundant in loving kindness and truth. Unto you is God is greatness and power and beauty and triumph and splendor. Unto you, God, is kingship. So God is kind, compassionate, gracious, slow to anger, great, powerful, beautiful, triumphant, splendorous, kingship. This is a lot of adjectives for an adjectiveless and undescribable God. You see the problem here?
Yeah, you could go on endlessly.
So even if we want to say that text number 10 is the text number 10 is not to be taken literally, text number 6, how do you explain that one away? Right? God is filling the world like the soul fills the body. That means he's involved. That has to mean he's involved. So which one is it? Does God remain transcendent, far beyond our existence, or is God ever present within our physical reality?
The first one you said.
Ooh, okay. You're
I
saying that
guess
God
I
is
got that
transcendent,
wrong.
far beyond existence. Do
No,
you want a
I'm
God like
thinking,
that you can't have a connection with?
no, I look at him like he's everywhere, in your soul,
Right.
outside.
So that would be ever present and within our physical reality. But if God is within our physical reality, then I don't want that God, right? If If God is only within my reality, then why do I need a God?
Right. It's above.
Need him, right? So the answer over here is going to be understood based on a major Kabbalistic idea that we're really not going to focus and spend too much time on, just because I think it's beyond the scope of this class to really get. But the point of it, we're going to discuss. Have you ever heard of the 10 Sefirot?
Yeah.
You ever seen
10
the chart with
Sefirot.
like the lines and the thing? The Kabbalistic, right? The one on the top and then the two on the side, and then it comes back in and out.
Mhm.
The 10 Sefirot.
No.
Okay, so look it up. You'll see it in one of the videos in the course recording. The big
Okay.
idea is the big idea here, and humans are like this as well, that creation occurs in two stages. Say you want to write a book. What do you first have to do?
Come up with an idea.
Come up with an idea for a storyline. And only afterwards do you start writing the book. Creation occurs within, right? You see the signs on the highway for the army, battles are fought within. So creation must start within. Say you wanna you're given 5th grade science to teach. You have to first dumb down everything you know within yourself, or hopefully dumb down everything you know within yourself to create a lesson plan that will be engaging, interesting, and on the level of the 5th grade students. Only after that can you start actually giving it over. That make sense? So God, the first thing he did, again, this is a big Kabbalistic, we're going to get to the text soon, but this is the Kabbalistic idea, that in order for God, if God is so transcendent, the first thing God needs to do is create within himself the ability to care about a world. Because God is so great and so transcendent, he would have no way of fitting with, if the goal is to have a world that can relate to God, right? So if he wanted a world that did not relate to him, then he could have gone straight ahead and just, we would have existed. But if he wanted a world that can emotionally and intellectually connect with him, he needs to first create emotions and intellect within himself, and then create his world with the intellect and with the emotion, such that the people can connect with him emotionally and intellectually when they try. Does that make sense?
So he first created a pipeline through which he could give and receive information and understand and
Yeah.
and care back and forth.
Yeah, pretty much. So because this God is undescribable and unfathomable and beyond all definition, he had to first create definitions within himself. And only then could he create a world based on those definitions.
How does God go about, and this is how does God go about picking and choosing what traits and emotions and senses, or how does he pick and choose?
I'm going to answer you with a joke that is not so on point, but a little bit on point. And I hope it won't take us too far out, over time. The rabbi goes and visits his local priest. The rabbi has a small shtetl, and he sees the priest, and he asks the local priest, what are your aspirations? What do you want to come? And the priest says, well, you tell me, Rabbi. He says, I'm happy here. If something happens, then maybe they'll transfer me to the big city. But there's not much more than that. But tell me about yourself. And the priest says, well, if I do really well, then I can get transferred to a bigger city. He says, and then, well, then I might be able to get transferred to Moscow. He says, and then the rabbi's like pushing him. He says, well, if I'm the best of the best, extremely knowledgeable, charismatic, and I make good steps, I may end up in Rome. He says, and then he says, well, if I become very well known in Rome and people really like me and I'm really advocating for the people and teaching people and helping people understand, then maybe I could become a how do you call it? A bishop. Right? He says, and then what? He says, then if I try really hard and one of the cardinals die, I could become a cardinal. He says, and then what happens? He says, there's not much, above that. But if I'm really the best and the smartest and the most charismatic, and one of the bishop's people, helpers, the archbishop, whatever you call them, one of them died or retired, then I could become in that position. And the rabbi says, no, and then what? He says, you're pressing me here, but yeah, I guess theoretically, if the timing is right and everybody likes me and I get the votes, and I could become the Pope. He says, and then he says, what do you want? What do you want? You want me to become God? And the rabbi says, well, one of our boys made it. So when you get there, Lisa, you'll let me know. But that's just one of the things that's what he chose.
Well, I'm not 40 yet, so I'm not old enough to be exposed to
Fair enough. Okay, so actually we have the 10th Sfirot on page 255. If you go to page 255, you will find
Oh,
here. Have you ever seen that chart before?
Yes.
Something that looks like that?
Yes.
I
Okay.
don't think I have.
So if you've ever done any Kabbalah or mysticism, you've probably seen something like that. So this is pretty authentic. So this mystery of the 10 Sefirot that we just touched upon explains the paradox that we questioned earlier. Is God involved in our reality or not? And the answer is yes. God interfaces with our reality via the Sefirot. But at the same time, God is not limited to the expression of the Sefirot. He uses them, but he is not defined by them. The Ramak, Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, that we spoke about before, he explains this using an analogy of colored vessels that we're going to look at text number 15, running all the way to text number 15, page 258. I'm going to read it in the interest of time. And while I'm reading it, I would like you to keep in mind that anything which is going to be discussed, conveyed, any subject must be conveyed using humanistic terminology. He can't just tell us what it is because we would have no understanding, because you can't define something so sublime. So what we're going to do is we're going to use an example, and through that example, hopefully we'll understand a little bit of the concept. We ready?
Yep.
In truth, in regard to our Creator, the infinite Creator of all, we cannot speak or describe or require neither judgment nor compassion, neither anger nor wrath, neither variation nor limitation, nor any properties whatsoever, not before the emanation of the 10 Sefirot, nor now after they were emanated. What we should know, however, is that at the very beginning, God emanated 10 Sefirot. And we can provide a nice analogy to make the matter understood by the mind of the wise thinker. So he's got high expectations of us. We are all wise thinkers tonight. The analogy is of water, clear water, that is being distributed among various vessels. The vessels are of different colors. One is white, another is red, another is green, and so on with the rest of them. Now, when the water is channeled into these vessels, although the water itself is colorless, it will be seen in the colors of the respective vessels and appear to have changed its vessel's color, right? You hold up a cup, it's blue water. No, it's not blue water, Perrier, right? Green seltzer. Apparently, the reason that they made those green bottles is because they were bottling the Hudson water from the Hudson River, and it indeed was colored. So they put it in green bottles that people shouldn't tell. But here we're talking about clear water. In truth, however, the water did not acquire any new color. The variously colored vessels have imposed their colors on the water, but this imposition is only in relation to how the water appears to those who see it, not in relation to the water itself. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You put water in a cup, so the water looks to the outsider as it has been colored. To the insider, it's water. The water has not changed. So it is with the sphero, the vessels in the analogy of the divine attributes that we call loving kindness, power, beauty, and so on. Each is colored in accordance with its function, white, red, green. The light of the emanator, which is the essence of the 10 divine energies that flow into the 10 sphero, are like a colorless water, as they transcend all variation and functions. The variation in their effect on the world is only due to the differences in function of their vessels. In other words, God is putting himself through these lenses, so that when we look at it, we see colorful lenses. But has God changed? God has not changed.
No.
If you take a light and you refract it through a prism, right? I did go to 6th grade science. If you take a light and refract it through a prism, you will end up with various different lights, various different colors. In fact, all the colors of the rainbow. And if you could split those off, and you can have a prism that will refract only pink, or only blue, or only green. Has the original light changed? The original light is light, but the way you're looking at it and the part that you see is colored.
You bent it.
Right. So the actual light itself, once it comes through the prism, it may have changed, but on the other side of it is just still the same white light that was shining before.
That's so good.
Now, this is not as good of an example as the cups, because in the cups, nothing has changed at all. In the light, we're kind of, though the truth is, let's put it this way, through the prism, the light hasn't changed colors, but we're only seeing part of the color. The prism is blocking out part of the white light. And all we're seeing is the green, the blue, the red, the violet. So I guess it is a good example. What we're seeing is not the totality of what's going on. So this is such a beautiful resolution. So yes, God operates within our reality by virtue of the Sphirot, and that explains how God can speak of, how the scriptures can speak of God's compassion, grace, and love, but at the same time, God remains above it all. The Sphirot don't define God. They are defined and distinct with different hues, but God himself remains pure and undefined, like the pure water that flows into the colored vessels. Does that make sense?
Does the word Sephirot roughly translate to trait or characteristic? Or?
Sephirot, literal translation is like counting, like lispor, to count. So Sephirot is like numbers. We could translate, I like the word definition.
Okay.
Also comes from the word like sapphire, to shine.
Okay. Thank
you.
you.
That's the Tzafat Kabbalah. So thinking back to our original concept is that you have God who remains transcendent and above everything, yet he created within himself the ability to define definitions and to find within himself the traits of loving kindness, the traits, again, within infinite, you'll have everything good. So the loving kindness, the severity, the kingship, the splendor, these are all attributes that God created within himself so that he could relate to us in that way. Emanated is a better word because it wasn't he's not creating a part of himself, but he's showing us and defining. I really like the light example, because everything was there before, but he's refracting and showing us different pieces. So it's like a that we would not have been able to see, and that were not their own separate entities before. They never become their own separate entities because they're still part of the original light, yet we get to relate to them and to interact with them. Okay. So I hope that this is all very tip of the iceberg. We're reading a few paragraphs, a few sentences, but it's a beautiful concept. And the concept is, so actually this quote from the Ramak I learned when I was in yeshiva. We spent a great many months on this, but the way that my teacher phrased it in the beginning, because this is a big argument, whether we could relate to God or whether we can't relate to God. And this is the position of Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, because if our world is randomly disconnected from God, then we can't relate to God. But if the world does have a path from God, if God created within himself, and it's really him, then we actually get to connect with God, which is so beautiful and so powerful. That God created a path that we can intellectually and emotionally connect with him, because he created within himself intellect and emotion. And shallowed that down and narrowed it down and narrowed it down and narrowed it down until eventually it came to God's will and wisdom that we as finite humans can relate to. And that is called the chain of creation, the Seder Hishtalshalut. So all of this is the Kabbalistic explanation, and Hasidus comes along and brings it down to a much more human level in a way that we can perhaps understand it even better. Hasidus uses an ordinary example of a parent playing with their child. This is the Maggid of Mizrich, a student of the Baal Shem Tov who we spoke about in the video. And he uses the example of a parent playing with their child and entering the child's space. Like, I remember when we were kids, I don't know if this ever happened to you, but you were playing some stupid game. Like we were walking to shul and we made this game that like, you can't step on any cracks in the concrete on the footpath, right? Or we're all going to be walking along the curb, right? And we're all airplanes and we can't fall on the floor. Or the kids today, the floor is lava, right? So as a parent, you have much loftier things to think about. You know that nothing's going to happen if you step on the cracks or if you step off of the curb. But you actually have no connection with these kids. These are silly little youngsters who are playing their game. And you are the sophisticated surgeon or philosopher parent. And you have nothing in common with them. So you can either walk along thinking about your thoughts, about the greatness of the universe and the Lord, or you can engage with them and actually create a connection with them. By stepping into their minds and by joining their game, you now have something in common. You now have connection. You now have common ground. Did you become a silly 5-year-old who thinks that if you step off the curb, then you're going to die?
No.
No. You're still a sophisticated adult, hopefully. But right now, your mode and your method, you are relating to these kids and their mindset, and you decided that you're going to play by their rules. And if you step off the curb, you're going to be out. So you're trying really hard, and you're making a fool of yourself to make sure you don't fall off of that curb. But now you connected with them. You came down to their level, you played by their rules, and now you have something in common with them. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, that really gives the concept some concreteness.
Right. So we're learning now about psychology of parenting, but so let's look over here, text number 16. Let's skip it, but you can look later at text number 16. You'll just put a mark around that, page 260, 260. So this is the way Hasidus articulates this great divine paradox using the Kabbalistic doctrine of tzimtzum, which is contraction. That God contracted within himself until he found a space within himself that he could relate to us and play by our rules so that he can have a connection with us. So God is both within and above. Just like a parent in that game, he's both within the game, but even while the parent is playing the game, he's not limited to that, but this is where he chooses to be right now. Is that clear? Is that beautiful?
Yeah.
Perfect. So with all of this in mind, let's revisit that cryptic piece of Kabbalah, text number 5. We're not going to understand everything, but some of it we will. At the beginning of the manifestation of the king's will, what does that mean? That means that in the beginning, the king needed to manifest his own will. He needed to create his own will. The lamp of darkness engraved engravings in the supernal purity, we're going to skip that. It emanated from the most concealed of all concealed things. We started with a place which was way beyond any kind of definition. From the secret of endlessness. A formless vapor was inserted into a circle. Now we could spend many hours discussing this, but if it's formless, how is it a vapor? Vapor has a form. So obviously we have to take off the husks and get to the kernel. But that was neither white, nor black, nor red, nor green, nor any color at all. The first thing had to be a desire to create within himself a framework of definition, a defined framework with which he could relate to humans, lowly humans on this lowly earth. When he began its measurements, what are measurements? Measurements are contraction. Measurements are this is how big it is and not further. Definitions. When he began defining them, he created bright colors to shine forth. He created various items of different definitions, which we know as the 10 sefirot. These 10 ways of relating to the world. From within the center of the lamp, a fountain spouted from which the colors down below were painted. Why down below? Because up above, they're not painted. Only down below to us, down here, are we able to, do we see God as having definition? Because we are like the silly little children who see their parent as one of them. Did that make a little bit more sense? So this text number 5 is describing to us how God does have a relationship with the world, even though he is transcendent, because he created a part within him that cares. Now, the Hasidic takeaway, in addition to providing a more relatable understanding of the concept, Hasidus gives us a way to take this home. Hasidus teaches us how even the most esoteric concepts have very real, very practical human application. So the core of this concept is God within or is God without? Is God transcendent or is God mundane? And Hasidus takes that and says this is not just a we're not just going to leave this as theoretical. We're going to look at that within ourselves as well. Are we our soul or are we our body? Is our soul to remain aloof and detached and godly, or is it to remain involved and with the physical? And the answer is that many people look at the world and some of them say, you got to go to the extreme and get rid of your body completely. There were many great sages who would roll on hills of red ants that would bite their body and physically attack them. They would fast, they would pray, their attitude was, however smaller I can make my body, the greater my soul will shine. Then you have people on the other side of the world who say, well, listen, God put me down here. There's a lot of things that look good, taste good, smell good, and feel good. So I'm going to go all in. Hasidus tells us that it's not either or. We don't have either the body or the soul, but we have both to fuse, to connect the two. To use the soul to uplift our body. To be involved, to have a beautiful house. You know, I'll tell you a story of my great uncle. He lived in the town of Shklov, which was a big town with a lot of misnagdim, people who did not like the new path of Hasidus that was being taught. So there's the Hasidus, the theory of Hasidus, which we're discussing today, and there are ways of the Hasidim, which both were vehemently opposed and fought. He was a very rich man, and he built himself a big brick house, which in those days was like a mansion he built himself. And so some of the townspeople who looked at him, he was a very intellectual chassid, a very smart man and a big thinker. And they said, how are you doing this? He said, I'll tell you. If I have a very small house, then nobody will look at me. The meetings won't happen in my house. And the resolutions of the meetings won't be good for Hasidus and for the simple people. But if Pinchas has the nicest mansion in town, then all the Jewish meetings happen in my house. And then I can have a sway in the matter to determine how things are going to go in the meeting. Have a nice house. Have meetings there to further Jewish education and Jewish values. Make a lot of money and spend it on Shabbos. Have a beautiful Shabbos meal. Spend it on the holidays. Spend it on charity. Give your kids a beautiful Jewish education. Enjoy your steak. Let your mouth salivate and water over the spices so that your mind will open and your heart will open and you can learn well. That is Chassidus' takeaway from this explanation, that we should not remain aloof and we should not be all the way inside. We should be involved with the world and bring it up with us. This explains the soul of a very fascinating halacha that we learned before, the roadside. Remember we learned in lesson number two, which is 4 or 5 weeks ago, depending how you count it. Right, 4 weeks ago, excluding tonight, 5 weeks ago, including tonight. We learned the Jewish roadside laws, the law of Jewish roadside assistance. Remember that one? If you see your fellow's donkey struggling under its load, you have to help him. So Chassidus has a beautiful explanation on this that really gets to the soul of the matter and adds a completely new dimension. Let's look at text number 17 and text number 18, and that is pretty much how we're going to wrap up the night. Where is text number 17?
262.
Thank you, Sarah Esther. 262. So the roadside assistance law was when you see the donkey of your enemy collapsing under its burden and you are inclined to desist from assisting him, you must assist with him. Okay, so this is Rabbi Yisrael Baal Shem Tov. His take on this. Kisire chamor, when you see the chomer, which is the same letters as chamor, means your materialisticness. When you see your material self, which is your body, what will you notice about it? It is your enemy. The material self is antagonistic to the soul, which yearns for godliness and spirituality. You will see that your material pursuits are killing your soul. And you will further see that it is that it's collapsing under its burden. God gave the Torah and its commandments to sanctify our physical existence, but the body regards them as a burden and is loath to fulfill them. Your inclination, therefore, may be, and you are inclined to desist from assisting him. You may be inclined to deprive the body in order to break its materialistic nature. And to say, what do I need this body for? It's drawing me down. It's dragging me down, throwing inappropriate thoughts and feelings into my mind at every turn. Laws up. Let go of me. Let me go further. Let my soul soar high. And let me forget about my body. This approach, however, is not the way by which the light of Torah will come to dwell in us. Rather, assist. You must assist with him. Lift up the body by refining and elevating it. How beautiful. We took a law about a donkey falling down and we turned it into one of the secrets of life. This is a powerful example of how Hasidus explains not only Kabbalah, but every part of Torah, and in a way that it is immediately actionable in our day-to-day lives. My friends, we've spent the last 6 weeks exploring the magnificent body of Torah scholarship. We've learned about Tanakh, the Medrash, the Talmud, Halacha, Musar, Hakira, Kabbalah, and Hasidus. And my hope is that you're inspired to commit to even one little more Torah study. And which part of Torah study? the world is open to you. The world is your playground, and you can choose anything. It's all Torah, it's all holy, it's all meaningful. And let's look at text number 19. Levi and Rabbi Shimon, the son of Rebbe, were sitting before Rebbe, and they were studying the Torah portion. When the book was concluded, Levi said, "Let the book of Proverbs be brought to us." Rabbi Shimon said, "Let the book of Psalms be brought to us." Levi was compelled to agree, and the book of Psalms was brought. When they came to this verse, "But only in God's Torah is his desire," Rebbe expanded its meaning and said, "A person can only learn Torah in the area that their heart desires." Said Levi, "Rebbe, you have given me permission to get up and leave." Study whatever you are drawn towards. Study the heart that your Torah desires. That is beautiful advice. When you're bent on a subject, when there's something that you're looking forward to learning, you will understand it so much better. Maybe indeed follow the Talmud's advice and re-energize our commitment to study Torah, which brings us to the first very important announcement. God willing, I'll send out an email, but God willing, so Purim is going to be next week, Tuesday. The following Tuesday, March 14th, God willing, I believe at 11 a.m., we're going to start our first Talmud class of Central Broward County. It's going to be over Zoom, Tuesday mornings, 11 a.m. And I am looking forward to seeing you there. Look out for an email after Purim.
Hooray, hooray, hooray.
And announcement number 2, in case you are very sad that we are going to be leaving this course now because we've finished our 6 lessons. Our next course is coming up right after Passover, starting on May 3rd, I believe, Wednesday night. It's going to be a 4-week session, and we are going to be getting supernatural. We're going to be discussing dreams, astrology. Do the stars really tell the future? Crystal balls, demons and ghosts. Oh my. Join us for our incredible JLI spring course. And Moshe Chaim, I checked already today and made sure that you are able to register. So if you go to chabadcentralbroward.com/JLI, you're going to have to scroll past the current course, and at the bottom, there's a second section on Supernatural. You can sign up there. There is an early bird special that'll take you 10% off, in addition to multiple signups. If you get a friend and you sign up together, then that will take off an additional 10% as well. So effectively, I believe that's 20% off, not like 18. Yes. Now, before we take this to the final conclusion, I want to do my two traditional things. Before we get to the Kahoot, I want to ask you, if you had 1 minute or less to sell this course to someone, what would you tell them? Julie, would you like to start?
Oh God, there's so much. If you don't know anything about your religion, you need to listen and learn and study and believe and feel.
Beautiful. And coming to this course, we'll give that to you. Nice. Moshe Chaim.
If you want a basis or a good thumbnail sketch on all the important books of Judaism that will both explore excerpts of all the books and give an overarching understanding of the great teachings in both written and oral tradition, this course, Booksmart, would be the course for you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Moshe Chaim. And Sarah Esther.
So have you ever heard of Torah? Do you think you know what it is? Well, it's what you're thinking and so much more, and even more than that. You think the Torah is a written scroll and oral tradition. it is, but it's amplified into so much more. Come see how the sages and the historic rabbis who have defined Torah for us, see where all of that knowledge lies and see what all the Torah really is.
Beautiful. Think JLI team should hire you guys to be part of their sales pitch.
I'll take it.
Okay, are we ready for Kahoot?
Kahoot, honey, Kahoot.
Yeah.
So for Kahoot, you know what? Maybe I'll join as well. That'll make it more fun, right? I'm just gonna have to make sure I click all the wrong answers.
That would really smack me in the face with it.
We don't want to smack ourselves with a computer.
Okay, here is my computer. Yeah.
So, we're gonna go on. So you can either have a second phone, or if you have your computer with you and a either two phones or a computer and a phone. I am going to just set it up over here and play now. Start a live game with players.
Hold on, we're getting into Kahoot.
You guys are getting into Kahoot? Okay, I'm coming up with the number for you. While we're doing this, you guys can go to kahoot.it, Kahoot.it, Kahoot.it. We're going to go classic mode.
Right there. Oh, there's
And
no
it's
dot.
loading the game pin.
Kahoot.it.
Okay, now let me
Create a Kahoot.
here,
This is
let me
what
go
we're
to share
Then you-
screen, optimize for video clip.
Computer's gonna be a
Okay.
feature.
Do you see 8808172? So if you go on kahoot.it,
Oh, he's
Kahoot.it, yes.
kahoot.it. Moshe Chai, does everyone have kahoot.it? Is everyone there?
Hold on. Not in. Or Kahoot.
Oh my God.
He was going to
Okay,
create
then you
his
have to
own.
type in your nickname.
Hold on. Okay. I'm using my phone.
Let's get the place where we can put in the code
Hold on. Oh.
or
Okay,
scan
do you
it.
see that? Do you see that screen on the? Yep, I do. You see that? Okay, we have who's worms?
That's probably Isaac.
That's Isaac,
Well,
okay.
he came up worms.
Nope.
There's
that's
Isaac.
me.
My name
Oh, there's
Oh,
Isaac. So
Worms
is
is-
Worms, the rabbi of worms. Moshe Chaim, is that you?
Yep.
Moshe Chaim's worms.
Okay.
That's a place where a rabbi came from.
And Julia, do you have the ability to join us, or are you gonna watch?
I'm gonna watch because I don't have the computer.
Okay.
Okay, are we ready?
You can use an
1,
iPhone. Oh,
2, 3, and let me ask you, Lisa and Isaac, are you guys able to see the screen well?
Yeah.
Okay.
okay, we're starting. Wait, it's glitching.
It's glitching.
For me, it is.
Do you see it
Hold
saying
on.
3, 2, 1?
Okay,
Here it
I
comes.
see it.
Yeah.
I
Question
know how
number
to play
1.
Kahoot. The reason why I know how to play
Isaac.
Kahoot.
Okay, are you
If
guys
I-
able to see the question? We know there are at least this many books of Torah thought in existence today.
Oh, boy.
I think it's that. No, why'd you do that one? I said that.
Okie dokie, 120,000. That's how many books
That's
there
what I
are in that
thought.
digital archive that we mentioned.
Oh,
Okay,
two
whoever got,
people picked yellow.
2 people picked yellow, 500,000.
I
Okay.
picked yellow.
And
Mommy,
next.
you tell me.
I
Oh,
told you to 120,000. I pointed to red.
The written
Right.
Torah is comprised of 3 parts. Torah shebichsav and Torah shebal peh, Torah, Nevi'im, and Kesuvim,
Which
pen,
one?
paper, and ink, Moses, Joshua, and Jethro.
It's- I can pick one, okay?
I think it's old.
Torah, Nevi'im, and Kesuvim. Very good.
We were both wrong.
Okay. Look at that. The rabbi of worms.
I did.
Okay. Oral Torah.
Oral
The
Torah.
What?
oral Torah was made up by my grandfather. Is like a body to DNA. Was made up by the rabbis, or all originates from Moses at Sinai.
Mhm.
There may be more than one correct answer here.
Yeah, that is possible. Oh, I got it.
Very good. Both of them are correct. Is like a body to DNA, and all originates from Moses at Sinai.
My mom is trying to help me.
And you're trying to help
Oh.
mom.
Okay.
Yay.
Wait. How did we get extra bonus points?
How am I in first? Wow, I'm in first.
Okay.
We didn't mean
Medrash is a
Medrash.
book. Anytime someone expands on something from the Torah, a flavor of candy, or both A and B, both the red triangle and the blue square, there is only one correct answer here. There is only one correct answer here.
It's gonna be
The answer is both A and B. We learned that there are 2 words. So it's okay if you get all of these wrongs, but it'll be a nice review over 6 weeks. I know we learned this like a long
Otherwise-
time ago. So it is both the name of a book as well as anytime someone expounds on something from the Torah.
that's
Well,
what
So
I'm in-
back in play. Look at you, Moshe Chaim.
Oh, I'm in
Question
middle.
number 5. We learned about the futility of human pursuits from a parable about a fish in the sea, a fox in the vineyard, a turtle on a ship, or an alien from Mars.
I think it's blue.
Very good. The answer is the fox in the vineyard. Remember, the fox fasted so that he could fit into the vineyard, and then he ate so much that he wasn't able to leave, so he had to fast again. And he said, "What a beautiful vineyard, but you leave it as you come in."
Right.
Okie dokie. Very good. Next.
Ooh.
In how many lessons have we referenced the Jewish roadside assistance law?
Let's see what the answers are.
I think I know the answer to this question. I wrote the question, but I hope I'm remembering correctly.
It's either 2 or 3. No.
That is one.
And the correct answer is 2.
I'm
I mean, I
gonna
should say,
pick blue.
the answer that I remember is 2.
I was up, mommy. That was
Okie dokie. Next.
Now I'm in last, mommy.
We're halfway there. If 2 people come down a chimney, one space is dirty, the other one's face is clean, which one washes their face? The one with the clean face, the one with the dirty face. Depends if there's a mirror or not, or none of them.
Depends if they're
Is it yellow?
yellow.
You have to remember the joke for this one.
Yes, sir.
And the correct answer is,
All of them.
yep, they are all correct.
Wow. I was so like,
Yeah, Isaac, your mom's gonna have to tell you the joke. Okie dokie. Next.
smarter from this.
If we are not allowed to write down the oral Torah, why were the Mishnah and later the Gemara written down? If we're not allowed to write the oral Torah down, it has to be oral. How could we write it down? Did the government put pressure? They were written down as a tax write-off because Jews were not able to spend enough time studying, or because the rabbis had to hone their writing skills. Quick. Tap it,
Green.
tap it, tap it, tap it. Very good.
Oh my God.
Because Jews were not able to spend enough time studying.
I knew it. My mom just told me red. Knew it was yellow. Mom.
Okay,
It was red.
next. This is a friendly game. This is a friendly game. If two
Yellow.
people come into court and both have possession of the same item, remember, they have possession. The key here is they both have possession. They both have possession of the item. They both swear and then they split it. They fight it out. We put it away until one of them admits or until Mashiach comes, or it's not possible for two people to be holding the same item.
They split.
The last one he said.
Yep.
The answer is
I got it
yes.
correct.
Possession.
I
They
got
both
it
swear,
correct.
and then
I got
they
it correct.
No, it's the green, which I said.
I was the only one who got it right,
Okay,
Mom.
next.
I was the only one who
The
got
word
it
halacha,
right.
Jewish law, literally
Thank you for telling
means
me.
coming, approaching, running or sprinting, fasting or praying, walking or going. Just remember that you have until the timer runs out to click your answer. So better guess. If
I'm
you're
gonna
wrong,
say blue.
skip it and miss it.
Okay, I think I got my answer.
And the correct answer is walking or going.
Oh, jeez.
I don't remember that.
Okay. What? I don't think I did not click the correct answer on that one. I don't know how I got. That was a mistake because I intentionally clicked the wrong answer, but I guess they made a mistake for me. Okay.
Which one was the right one?
Walking or going.
Oh,
When
okay.
faced with a question that has never before been addressed, a rabbi must make up whatever he feels right to him at the time, tell the person to stay away from the questionable item, figure out the answer based on prior questions and laws, or go to sleep and hope it gets answered in a dream.
The blue.
Right.
Go to
And
sleep.
the answer is figure out the answer based on prior questions and laws.
Yellow.
And we actually looked at some of them. If you remember the case of the conjoined twins, that the Everett C.
Coop.
case.
Oh, I think I was the only
You
one.
guys are doing good, and even if you're getting them wrong, it's a jog on your memory. This is fun. This is very fun. Oh, look at you, Isaac. Next. Okay, Moshe Chaim, Musar
Yeah.
and Chakira, ethics and philosophy are integral to Judaism, don't matter in Judaism, are interesting and optional, or subjects to be avoided. This is last week. Are ethics and philosophy integral to Judaism?
I think it's right.
Red.
Don't tell the answer.
Oh,
Well,
very good, Julie.
She
The
can.
answer is they are
Oh, yeah.
integral to Judaism. And we're almost
Okay. I'm making some stew.
at the end of our session. We have 2 questions left. These are from today. Oh, what? No, this is not from today. One who gets angry. It is as if they served pizza, spilled their hot tea on a friend, lost their mind, or served idols.
Lost.
Green. I overheard her.
Stomach is really hurt.
Okay, very good. One who gets angry. It is as if they served idols.
That was me.
Okay, and I think that this is our last question. Are you guys ready?
Maybe.
Yeah, this is our last
4
question.
people entered the orchard. One of them died, ran away, ate too much, or lost his mind.
Both.
There may be more than one possible answer here.
Yeah,
Green.
both.
I'm gonna have to take one.
Okay. That's the right answer.
And very good. The answer is one of them died, one of them lost their mind. None
I
of them
did.
ran away, and none of them ate too much.
Okay,
Okay, are we ready? Let us see
I'm
our
up.
podium. Lucky for us, there's only 3 players, so we will all be on the podium. Yay, look at
Rabbi.
me, number 3. And Worms, number 2. And the spotlight goes on. Okie dokie.
Isaac! Wow, you're so smart, buddy.
You did that, Mommy. I want to
It's a
do
team
another.
effort, but guess what? The confetti is falling on all of us.
Yay!
Okay.
I want to do another
Going
one.
to
Mommy's
now.
joining.
Close this. Leave page. Stop share.
Can we do another one?
Okay, how was that? Was that fun?
That was
Yeah.
great. That was awesome.
Okie dokie. Wishing you all a wonderful, happy, exciting, and a happy Purim and a happy Passover. And Lisa, we saw that you already signed up for the Purim thing. We're looking forward to seeing you.
Yes.
Moshe Chaim, if you would like to sign up, the early bird discount ends tomorrow.
Or Monday.
So if you would like to sign up, centralbrowardpurim.com. Let me send you, I'll send you a flyer right now that has the information on it. And Lisa, if I remember, I'm going to send you about the carnival for Sunday.
Yeah, that would be
Talk
great.
about that in front of Isaac if you haven't decided yet if you're going to go. Yeah. Wishing you all a wonderful evening. It's been a great ride. You guys have been incredible. I've learned a lot from you, and I've learned a lot from the course. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and I hope you enjoyed listening to me as much as I did. Take care.
Love this
Have a
course.
wonderful-
You did it. You presented this exceptionally well. It was a lot.
Lot
And
of information.
yeah, condensed, you synthesized it very, very well.
Encapsulated.
Thank you very much. And if you're getting any blues, next Wednesday night, you can pull out your book. There's plenty of texts that we didn't read inside, a lot of appendixes. So it'll keep you covered for the next 7 or 8 weeks until we get to Supernatural.
And
See you on
video.
the other side.
We could relive the courses on
Yep.
video.
Yeah, you can re-listen to them on video if you'd like
I
as well.
seem to text you on my mobile, but wait a second. Okay, it's Shauna.
Okay. Take care. All the best, Auntie
Yep.
Nina. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Moshe Chaim. And thank you, Lisa. Take care
Oh,
all.
thanks
and have a
once
wonderful
again.
evening.